main line. Tell him what you want. Call him up and tell him what you want. Give me another song, Timothy. Give me another song. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Mm-hmm.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Timmy, and I am so glad you guys are here to join me. Today, I have another special guest. She is very, very special to me. You know, she can irk a nerve, but I wouldn't trade her for the world because I would kick somebody for this woman, okay? Besides my mama and my other guy, mama. But everybody else, get your ass. But yes, thank you for coming on to the show today, Miss China Byrd.
You are so welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
No, thank you for coming today. Um, I wanted you to come on to just talk about basically your career and the things that you do, especially because I know you work at a college. I was gonna say university, but soon to be probably.
Speak it.
And also this also talk about black kids and their education nowadays than from when you were coming up um, in the field of just wanting to get an education and learning where to start.
Well, okay, I'll start with modern day. Social media has um, a lot of the younger generation believing that they don't need education and that they can make it basically just off of social media alone. But in my time, I've seen things change, and I've seen where you there were jobs where you only needed a high school diploma to get a certain position, right? And then those titles evolved. So just to have a manager's position, it became, instead of a high school diploma, now you need a bachelor's degree. And if you didn't have one, I've seen people lose positions if they didn't have those degrees, those levels of education. Um, and just that's where I've seen changes, and I can say that I think that's touching on the I'm sorry. I think that is touching on what the question is that you just asked me. Basically, the differences. We didn't have social media. I remember when I was in fifth grade. That's when I was first introduced to a computer. That was 1980 something. and the
I'm surprised you even put the decade.
and I recall I recall watching a show saying that, oh, in the 80s computers weren't in the school systems for black kids. But I was like, wow, how untrue that was for me, because I remember at some point in our day, we went into a room where they had these box computers, and the box computers, there were no internet or anything like that. It was just basically data. And the data was in, you would write it in either, it was in orange letters or green letters on the screen, but the screen was always black. Then that evolved where you I learned how to type on a typewriter, right? And their typewriters are obsolete now. So there, things have changed, and they'll continue to change, and that's what I'm trying to get across. Don't solely depend on social media. Yes, technology, if you go into a career with technology or computer sciences or something, that's great, because it's going to constantly evolve. You'll always have a job for something like that. But as far as just solely depending on making your living that way, I wouldn't depend on it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
You sure?
No, I no, I get what you're saying. Like, cause I'm not that I'm not that young. I may look it, but I'm not that young. I think my generation literally, the babies that was born basically from '85 are the last. I'm not even 85. I'm 87, but are the last ones that actually we know what a rotary phone is. We know what calling on a landline is. We know what a yellow book is. Um, I do feel like it got more evolved as we got older because we had computer rooms with
Right.
the boxes,
Right.
but then as we got to, I want to say, so when I started going into high school, there was laptops given. And mind you, I went to one of the most hooded schools. I went to one of the most bad schools, elementary schools in Bridgeport, but somehow they was able to have a grant where we were able to have laptops for
Yes.
classes.
Um, Me working in Bridgeport, what I've seen in Bridgeport, because I have worked in some of the, I assisted in some of the STEM areas, and some of the people that I worked with, basically, I helped introduce a lot of STEM programs to the community. And it's something that's needed because there are not many black and brown people who are in STEM fields. It's growing because we're creating an atmosphere where they are gaining more knowledge, right? So they have, I've worked with a woman who started the Greater Bridgeport STEM ecosystem. Her name is Gwen Brantley, and Gwen is great. She's introduced so much to the city, and I have to say that for me being around her encourages me to, well, it encouraged me to want to know more and go further. So this is why I still like sit on her committee, even though at one point I was doing it for my job. As I was employed at the college under the academic dean, I would go and sit in these meetings on behalf of the college. And I also traveled on behalf of the college to STEM convenings, which were in different places. Uh, One being like within a poor community was Cleveland, Ohio. And some of the things that was offered to them, and even traveling there, I found that what they did, I know, you know how I'm against video games. I used to always be against video games. But one of the things that I found out that they did to encourage kids to learn in Cleveland was to start a esports teams. Everybody doesn't play basketball, everybody doesn't play football. So they started a team for esports. And these kids learn to code, they learn to build their own video games, and they basically had challenges. They had tournaments. And I said, wow. So it was, I got, I went and got Gwen. I said, you got to see this. I said, we got to bring this to Bridgeport. And Gwen brought that to fruition. She had the camp. And then they actually had a tournament. It was the first one that Bridgeport had. So, and that was just because I saw that and I saw the change that it made for the kids in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm sorry. And yeah, I so education for me, and I just want to point out one thing. When we say education, people automatically think because they look at me, and it's almost like having a degree or degrees, being degreed up is almost, I'm finding that it makes some people uncomfortable. And I don't want people to feel that way because the way I got my education doesn't necessarily mean the way you have to get your education. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm.
So, um, education comes from attaining knowledge, and attaining knowledge is simply picking up a book and reading and researching for yourself, not just what you see on social media, not just what you see on television. You know, um, and that's where people get mistaken. And I used to feel bad about making people uncomfortable about what I got, but then I thought to myself, let them be uncomfortable. Because if they're uncomfortable, maybe that uncomfortableness will force them to do something better for themselves.
Oh, what they're uncomfortable for, honey. You got yours. And
Yeah.
then too, like but I never. I mean, I've been in a lot of rooms. I've been in plenty of rooms
Mhm.
where, I know somebody with like 4 degrees, and they really don't have enough knowledge as a person that honestly that has a GED that I know. Um, it is all about the knowledge that you retain on your own and
Yes.
what you are retaining.
Yes.
I do say yes, getting a degree is better. Is best nowadays. Even though we did read the other day, me and Kenny, we saw that some companies are actually not excluding people with degrees. They're saying that they don't have to have this type of degree.
Mhm.
They're willing to change. They're willing to train them. And I said that's nice. That's real cool because you
Mhm.
know a lot of these kids. But I said and watch history repeat
Right.
itself where okay they hire all these people again because right about now people are not working.
Right.
People are
Right.
not working because they don't have the credentials
Right.
or it's something that they just th- people these young ones are realizing that I don't have to do what I don't like to do.
And that's true because it like things have become so easy. Something as simple as doing research. When I was coming up in primary and secondary school, right? We had to go to the library to do research. I remember going to the library looking for, if you were researching something from history within your city, they had something called microfiche. And microfiche is basically like it's a sheet, and it's almost like a negative, and some younger generation might not even know what a negative is, right? But it's like a negative film,
Mm-hmm.
a big one, and you
Mm-hmm.
put it on something that looks like um a
The
overhead
old yeah, the
projector,
old projector. I
and
know.
you and you look at it on a screen, and that's how you would do your research. But now,
But the thing is, too, you also when you had to go to the library, you also had to learn how to look up stuff
how
at
to
the library.
exactly,
That's
exactly.
why at one point it was important for
Mhm.
librarians to have a degree because the
Right.
way how the filing system
Yes.
the way you have to understand library filing system that that used to aggravate the mess out of me when
Yeah.
I was in elementary school trying to
Yeah.
because we would there was literally classes for you to go to the library because you needed to know how to go into the library,
Mhm.
look up whatever you were looking up, go to the librarian, ask the librarian. The librarian will give you a card with a number.
Mhm.
You had to go into that little slot thing, find that number, and then once you found that number on that card, you had like two cards.
Mhm.
Once you had to find once you had to find that card, then you had to go to the aisle where it's at, find it, pick it up,
Right.
or and then in some libraries you couldn't remove that card from that drawer,
Oh
so
no.
you had to write it down,
Down. Yes, you
and
did.
then you had to go look for the book.
And the pencils were like this
and
this tall.
they, I don't think past I want to say 99 kids have no idea how to do that.
No. There's a lot that this generation has lost, and I it's like, for me, it's astonishing. And I also feel like, working in it for, and I'm gonna go back to me, with education for me, right? um Education for me, I work in higher education. So, and in higher education, the higher you go, the higher the degree you have to have. So if you want to accomplish becoming a president of a college or a university, you have to have a doctoral degree. If you want to teach in higher education, in many states, you can't have anything less than a master's degree. In
Mm-hmm.
Connecticut is one of
Well,
them.
that is one of them.
Yeah.
They are start. I was reading. They are looking into bringing it back down to bachelors because of the loss of teachers. But but then there and then I also know that there's programs too
Hmm.
that they're sending teachers that do have their bachelors, but they want them to become teachers, so they'll pay for their masters in order
Right.
to get
And
it.
there's some states that you can teach in, and now they have online teaching, which is great. I love online,
I
right?
feel, but online is only for those that understand and know how to use online, because I do feel like some kids
Well,
online don't work well for them.
well, that's not true,
Some
right?
no, there is no
I'm
because well, I I come an aesthetic where if you have a kid that's always around people,
mhm.
always been around people,
Yeah.
um, and then all of a sudden you stick a computer in their face and say, okay, someone's gonna talk to you and show you and tell you how to learn. A lot of them don't understand that. A lot of them are used to. I
Well,
can say the older ones are used to be sitting in a classroom having that real connection with someone.
I can.
And I do feel like yes, virtual is lovely. It's convenient,
Mhm.
but it's something about that connection of getting of sitting or hearing your teacher's voice and seeing their physicality, seeing under and like feeling their energy. Because sometimes I feel like you don't feel energy through a screen.
I can agree to a level, and I'll go to, let's, because I also worked with at-risk youth, right? Some of them had developmental disabilities, and when you think of a student who is autistic, a student who is autistic, they learn a certain way. They're very intelligent, and
Yeah.
they learn a certain way, and what their norms are. It's like you can't just all of a sudden change what their norms
Oh
are.
yeah, I know.
So I agree to a certain level when it comes to that, but I also believe that um, we condition our minds to believe certain things as well. I was a student who thought that I could not do an online class until I got an entire degree online through an accredited school, of course, and it was one of Connecticut schools. But I got an entire degree online. But what helped me was the school said, okay, we are going to, in order to help you do this, we're going to put you in the starter class while you're taking your other classes, and it will groom you. And so this way you'll be prepared. And I think that every school, if you have any student that is using an online modality, then you should you should offer those type of courses. So this way there is no failure. it's when I saw how easy it really was, it was no brainer for me, you know. So I just want that goes along the lines of people saying education is not for everyone. I don't believe that. It's
I don't. They have to use the words differently when because
right.
not it's not education. Every education should be for everyone because
Yeah,
no matter what, like learning how to put a car together, learning how to do that that's
that's
educating.
education.
So it's school, the physical thing of physically doing, going to a place, doing that, seeing people, being around people. Because I do understand that there are some kids who are very much introverts. They don't like to be touched. They don't like to be, and that's because of some certain disabilities or traumas that they have
Hmm.
been dealt with. So I get that, but yes, the word that I think that has to be said differently.
Well, I'm gonna go when you said there's certain traumas, right? So now you segued me into another thing that I did within my career. And like I said, I believe education is for everyone. So in 2020, I went to the CEO of the college and I said, "Hey, I want to do reentry," and he gave me his blessings. Dr. Dwayne Smith. He's now the interim president at Southern Connecticut State University. God bless him. I hope he comes back to Housatonic. Not that I want him to take a step back, but he was a great leader. Um, and
I don't think you're gonna do that.
yeah, I don't think so either. um,
That's a huge pay raise. I
yeah,
would. I
but
would.
he's a great leader, and he gave me his blessings to go ahead and to go for it, right? And in the meantime, while I was getting this was during the pandemic, so everything was virtual, of course. This was like September 2020, and I began working on. Began working with people from Mayor Gannum's office for reentry, just trying to get those pieces into play. Then I started going to some of the halfway houses, like in 2021, talking to those people. Then at the last minute, I went to Dr. Smith and I said, "There's a second chance Pell Grant that I want to go for." And that was in 2022, like February. And the all the stuff was due in March 8th or something like that, right? So he said, "Go for it." So I had all of my research that I've done and all of my knowledge because in my career I've also worked in the Department of Corrections, the Unified School District 1. And basically what I did there was I not only recruited guys for the education system, I also um, taught them and tutored them so that they can pass a tabby 9 test. Some people think that, oh, you can just take some classes and go in and take your GED, right? It doesn't go that way. There's another test that you have to pass to just get to that level. And that means you have to pass I think it's like, I can't remember, I think it's like a second grade level on the tabby 9. And these guys couldn't even get past that.
Hmm.
So, yeah. And it was for many different, it goes to show you how back then, but like when I say back then, I'm talking about the 80s, 70s, 80s, and even 90s. They were just passing some students along,
Well,
you
when
know.
No Left
Eh,
Behind came into play,
Well, no, that we
that
not even talking
jacked.
about.
That definitely
No,
jacked.
no, no, no. No Left Behind. It had nothing to do on what was the atrocities that were happening in education, like in the 80s. I'm talking about like
Well, they did. Well,
the,
from
you
what
know,
I wasn't around, but
right.
from what I've did my research and my history,
Hmm.
they did, like people in inner cities were the ones that was getting it the worst.
Right. So, and they were, and they really were, and I have I have a story about being taken out of the public school system and put into a parochial school system, but I won't go there. But I had, like I said, I had knowledge because I worked in the Connecticut Department of Corrections, Unified School District 1, and I also worked in a federal halfway house where I had to do home confinement investigations. So I had not only had I been working in education for about 20 years at that time, right? Um, I also had a background in behavioral social science, not just degrees or anything. So Dr. Smith gave me the blessing. We applied for that grant. First round we got it. Second round we got it. Third round, congratulations, you're in. What school? What prison are you looking at? So Connecticut gave me um, Garner Institute, not yeah Garner, yeah Garner Correctional Institution in Newtown. And if you know anything about Gardner, Gardner is basically mental health. So I was up for the challenge, and initially they came back. I think they said, "Oh yeah, only 8 students showed interest." No, you have 60 eligible out of 400 men. You have 60 eligible. Okay, and that could mean whether they had a high school diploma, if they were mentally okay to go in and take these classes, or it could have been a number of things, right? Because like I said, it's mental health, and a lot of them in there severe mental health. So but let me get this straight too. Not everybody in Gardner, I want to get that straight. Not everyone in Gardner is has a mental health concern, but it's mostly mental health. Went in there, only 8, and this is after I presented in front of the warden and he gave his blessings, right? They said only 8 are interested, but out of them, probably only 3 can take the class. I said, let me come into the prison, and they were like, okay, like weren't sure what I was gonna do, but we did an info session. I traveled to DC to a second chance Pell convening. I had to call back some vacation so I can do all of this, and I because this had to be successful. So that meant like, okay, if I had 2 weeks of vacation, it was only gonna be one now. That meant even on a Friday night, I was leaving work at 10 o'clock. Okay, and I made sure that was successful. And I remember writing on my whiteboard. Um, I remember writing on it. I wanted 15 or more to sign up for these classes. I'll never forget the call where they told me 31 signed up. When I was walking out after we did the info session, they said, "Oh, you're lucky if you get 12." I said, "I'm going to get 15 or more." So they were like, "Good luck." In a nutshell. And I had 31. I had, no, actually, it was 32 because we had to split. It was 16 and 16. Yeah, we had to split it. And I had 32 sign up, and I was on vacation when I found that out. And that's going back to my belief in education is for everyone. And even with those people, okay, with those citizens, it is my belief that, and I know it's true, if you don't give a person a second chance, how are they supposed to fend for themselves? They're just going to go back to what they know, right? So if you don't arm them with the necessary tools that they need, then they're just going to go back to what they know because they think that's best. They always say the definition of insanity is repeatedly doing the same thing expecting different results. Okay, they would say that about someone who has committed a crime, right? But we also have to believe that in our system. If you're not changing what you're doing in the system and you're expecting a different result, then what? Right?
Yeah, yeah, which is true.
Mhm.
So, okay. Well, there's our education lesson right there, y'all. That means if you keep faith and you believe in what you're doing, blessings will flow through it.
Not just that, support. You got to have the support too.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
That's part of the blessings
Right.
that flows
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah. That's
Um,
true.
but yeah. back to young young adults. How do you feel when? Because I've known you probably had a couple of students that they they couldn't do it and they left, and then the ones that came back. I know they had, but what about the ones that left? Do you still think about those? And if you could, what would you do to bring them back?
The ones who left and not completed.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's funny is I have a lot of students who they they keep in touch with me, one way or the other, right? And some of them, I can't say not all, right? But some of them did not. I have one student, and I have to like reach out to her because I haven't heard from her. She didn't finish, but what I saw in her was that, and I always encourage, and I continue to encourage her. She's a young mother, and I'm always gonna like the young mothers. I'm always gonna encourage
Well, you have yeah well
because I
you
have a
have an
story.
experience.
Exactly, I have a story, so I'm always gonna encourage them. Um, I can remember there were, because I didn't finish college when I was supposed to, obviously, right? Um, I remember like working two jobs and raising my boys, trying to finish my degree, okay, and making sure they ate. So,
Oh, well, I'm a part of that type of kid too. So
yeah,
my
so
should have been in school literally all my life.
right,
Like no, seriously,
right,
all my childhood and
mhm,
all my teenage life, my mother was literally in school.
right,
So and this is why she's walking around with. She literally is a couple of credits shy from her doctorate, but she's like, I'm good.
you know what?
And she's at to a point in her life right now. She's like, I'm good, and I was like, okay, and like, I'm thank God that she's in something that she's comfortable doing, and she's
Right,
getting up and she's happy to do every day. Because it is hard when you do get all of those degrees in this, and then yeah, you find work with it, but it's not where your heart is not fully into it until you move on and do something else. And when you do on something else, then you can attach that to it to what else you have. So
somebody
that
asked
helps.
me. Somebody asked me one time, how many degrees you gonna get? I said as many as I want. I don't. If I think if you look at your degree as something to help you with financial gain, um, yeah, you want that, right? Especially with how much a degree costs. Oh, I got smart. I started going to school in New York, CUNY. I am a proud alum of CUNY John Jay College of Criminal Justice. Thank you. Um, which was a lot cheaper, a lot less expensive for me. I had to like, and even being a state employee and living in the state of Connecticut, it was cheaper for me to attend college in New York, for especially for actually my graduate degree with two. I have a post baccalaureate certificate and I have a postgraduate certificate. So with all of that, with all three of those, my undergrad costs more than my graduate degree. Okay?
To some
But
people, that's unheard of.
yeah. But you have to, I always tell people to do research, right? And you know, it's no matter what school you go to, just be happy where you are.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to go to an HBCU. I really did. My dad went, his cousin went, and I mean, even though my dad didn't finish college, he was recruited to play football and attend one of the first HBCUs, right? He also attended the first historically black prep school. But I as I got older, I had to start thinking like, yeah, this is what you want, but Where's the money at? And this is what I tell the students that I come in contact with as well. I have one student. I'm the lead advisor for the Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society on campus, and I have students that have gotten accepted to Sacred Heart, Columbia University. Columbia's Ivy League, um, for Fordham, Fairfield, Southern Connecticut State University, and I always tell them, "Oh, UNH." And the one thing I always say is, "You earned your GPA. Be sure that they respect that when they are offering you a financial packet." I always tell them that because that's important. There's no reason to go into debt, and there's ways that you can do it. That's the other thing, and that's the other thing. I think that's why a lot of people are so, you know,
Mhm.
push back about education because of the cost. But there's always ways, and I think people need to know that, like, you have to not just start early, but do the research.
You gotta do what you gotta do before you can even
Mhm.
hop on the bandwagon.
Yep.
Okay. Um. So I usually would have my game where it's like it or love it, but I didn't get to have enough time to look at my stuff today. But we'll play it the next time you come
Oh, it's gonna be a second time. Oh,
on. Well, it could be depending on the views I get.
okay.
Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Yes,
Yeah.
excuse me, like, share, and subscribe. Timmy Talk, please.
Yeah. But I'm really glad. I'm glad that you talked about your passion of working because my mother was, like I said before, my mother literally was in school majority of my childhood life, teenage life, um, and she always told me and my brother, she said, I just don't want y'all to have a job. I want you to have a career.
Hmm.
And which I am grateful to because even still, I fully don't have all my degrees yet. Hence the word yet. Um, I have a career,
And you love it.
and I love every bit of it. And now that and it's funny because now that I'm in my career, I'm able to work and to get in the things that I want into my degree, like to get the degree that I want and linking with what I think. Then I also have, and it's like, and you realize too because you're never done. Just like you said, how many degrees you get, as many as you want.
Yep.
Um, my m- my director, she literally I is she's amazing. I have to say this lady is it's a big wow, and it's like, and I just feel very honored to work under her because one, she graduated. I don't mean to put it out, but she graduated with a math degree,
Mhm.
became a chemist, did that for a while. Then after that, okay, what's new?
Mhm.
Studied to become a lawyer. Now the lawyer did lawyering for about 10 years. Then when the opportunity for her to take control over something that her passion was, she was able to say, "Okay, I'm done with it. I'm done with the rest. Now I can focus on my this passion that I
Yeah.
had, and I can for and when I say that she's putting time, effort, just the passion that she not just have for herself with building the school, it's also building the kids and the children, and then she also wants to build a, the community less fortunate, and I love the fact that she's giving that part to me because I've I've done outreach before. I worked with kids, and that's one thing that I love to do. So it's just like, okay, great, let's get it done. And from starting from the pandemic to no schools to now having five for their community work is kind of dope. People keep telling me I need to like take that. I'm just like, but I'm like, it's not enough. We need more. Like, but
Well, there's always going to be a balance, right? And I ha- I strive to practice asking God, what more do you want of me, right? And I always, it's funny because um I said this story before. My dad would say, "You're going to be a lawyer," and my grandmother would say, "You're going to be a writer," and my mother said, "You're going to speak to a lot of people." And when I think about it in my life, I've done that, right? I always wanted to work into the justice system. Never did I think that I would be working. This is my 24th year in education. Never did I think this is where I would be. But I noticed throughout this career, I've also worked in other areas. So me working in corrections was a dual position for the state of Connecticut. Me working doing federal home confinement investigations, I did all of that. Me working with at-risk youth, I did all of that while I was working in education. And I used to be like, okay, God, like, what's going on here? Like, I'm all over the place. It seemed like I was all over the place, but little did I know
it was
that
preparing you for
He was
the next
exactly,
thing. Yeah, it happens all the time. Happens all the
exactly,
time.
even with STEM education. Like, I'm not a math person. I'm not a science person. History, political science, anything in those realms, law, yeah, throw it at me, right? Never in a million years did I think I would be like just even remotely interested in STEM education, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. And if you throw the A in there, that's STEAM.
Steam. Hmm.
Okay, that's either arts or agriculture, right? So, I mean, yeah, arts. Graduated from arts high school, but
Here
but
we go.
I mean, shout out to
Here we
cooperative high
go.
school.
Y'all,
uh,
I hear this all the time. She had her. Oh my goodness. Kenny's her legacy.
yes.
That's so.
So, yeah. So I mean, you like never did I think I would be interested in those things, and here I am helping introduce esports tournaments to city of Bridgeport. Here I am planning programs for Amazing Girl Science. Never did I think anything like that, and showing them, oh, and how art is actually, well, no, how science and math is actually incorporated into art.
Yeah. Dance is mathematics.
Ex-
I tell people that
right,
it's math. It's math and physics.
right,
Um, it's math, physics, and anatomy.
right. So
And
you
is
see,
and yeah when I actually started playing anatomy because when I was you know becoming a massage therapist, um, I literally put the anatomy towards the dance, and what
hmm
I've learned through it was like, oh, I'm using this. Oh, they're using this. So it was easier for me to
yes,
go back and help the kids and say that you say this muscle, that muscle, and then you got to
yes,
turn use this muscle, and it really the things that you do really does help you prepare for whatever's next.
absolutely,
So whatever you people do in life, it's really not it's you're not doing it for nothing. Things always link in a web somewhere.
hmm God has His. We plan, but God has the master plan, and that's one of the things I always remember. God has a master plan. Like, so I can laugh now because what I thought I would be doing, even when I wanted to leave, I was trying to leave out of education, right? And I'm just like, okay, God, like, I'm ready to go now. And even now, like, last year, I went through some things where people were like throwing like job not job applications but job postings at me. Get out of there, get out of there. But God, like if God is not moving me, then it's where I need to be. Like things are always going to be tough. Education is one of people would not believe. Education is one of the toughest careers to have.
Oh, I know. My stepsister, she felt she was trying to become a teacher. She thought when I was talking to her, she said when I didn't pass an exam, she was like, Timmy, she said it took me 3 times,
Mhm.
3 times to pass that teacher's exam.
Mhm.
I was like, huh? And mind you, she's in Florida.
Mhm. Yeah. Where's a little like we wouldn't
Right.
expect it. Yeah.
So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I was like, all right. But she
Yeah.
said, but no, she fought it. She wanted it. She said what was killing her was the math part.
Yeah.
Because she was an English, she's an English writer. She writes.
Well,
So
that not
that
just
math part was eating her up.
right, but not just I'm not talking about just getting an education. I'm talking about working in education.
Mm-hmm.
Working in education is one of the toughest jobs to have. There's so many things that come with it. You know,
Besides attitudes and parents.
well, I I did have a parent come in to talk to me, which is why I was like, "Wait, what?" Okay. And I was like, you know, and me everybody's like, "China, you're so by the book." I really am because there's FERPA, okay? And even when Zaire went away to school, I said, here, I'm not leaving until you sign this form in front of them. FERPA form gives the student, it gives the parent the right to speak to anyone in administration about the student and on the student's behalf. Without that, I don't care if the student is 17, right? Because it's like 18 when you become an adult, but some students come to school at the age of 17 or earlier. If the student doesn't sign that right off, can't get that information. But yeah, I've had an incident like that when a parent came to talk to me, and I'm like, but it was more on an aggressive level for about something else, um, and but you always have to maintain professionalism, right? And the funny thing is, when my cousin, who is more like my sister, I always laugh at her. I used to laugh and say, "Girl, mm-mm, I'm not coming to work in secondary school because they beating y'all up." And I'm not losing my job for anybody, right? But now those same students are coming to college. So that's another thing that we have to discuss in education. We have to discuss the emotional state of these students that are coming into college. And to be honest, you do have to maintain a level of professionalism, but you also have to protect yourself, you know? And when I say protect yourself, like there's many different steps that you have to take. Don't be with a student alone, you know? Um, Remove yourself from a situation. And if the school has a system where you have to report a concern of someone's emotional health, then you have to take those steps to do that. Because it not only protects you, but it protects that student too.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, I have one of the parents that's teachers at the dance school. He's a teacher,
Mm-hmm.
and he does not allow any of his daughter's friends in his car unless if they're not with her or
Mm-hmm.
his wife.
Right.
Which and she's like, nope. She's like, and I was like, you know what? I agree.
Yeah.
I'm with him.
Mm-hmm.
She said, because these kids are evil. I was like, she said, and there's some, she said, and there's some that are like dolls and sweethearts and
Mm-hmm.
everything, and then there's some that portrays to be that doll and
Mm-hmm.
sweetheart and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and they're evil. So she was like, he does not allow it. She's like, if my daughter's not in the car, if I'm not in the car, they have to find their way.
But that's a way because things have become so hard
Mm-hmm.
for people who work in education. Like, and but don't get me wrong, there was a time when there were certain people who were taking advantage
Oh, of course.
of
Of course.
you know the people that are in their care.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, which is why.
Your son watch Lifetime movies all the time, so we be watching
You know, no, this is like legit, like legitly, these things have happened in the past. Some of them have happened like in my era, and the students now have more rights, and I think that's great. But giving them those rights, I believe we also have to teach them how to use them. You know, um, you weren't. Let me see. You were probably very small when the Tawana Brawley case came out. And now I don't know if it actually did happen or if it didn't happen, but it came out that no, Tawana Brawley was lying. She wasn't raped and thrown in the dumpster like she said. She was just trying to get away. Um, she just wanted time to hang out with her boyfriend or whatever the story came out to be. I don't know if that's the case, but my thoughts when this happened was, if that is the case, then that's sad, because what happens to the people that this really does happen to? You have people now who are afraid of reporting things because of lies that have been told, and they don't want to look like the person who told the lie, or the person who got somebody else in trouble.
hmm
So this is why we have to, like, yes, all these rights are great, right? But we also have to teach some responsibility when it comes to them, because the other things now, I want to talk about the law. The other thing that goes along with that is that you can be sued.
Oh yeah.
But they don't think of that. They think they use these, some a lot of times what they do is they'll use it as a tool because they're mad at someone, not realizing the legal repercussions that it can cause.
And the life that they can destroy.
Right, exactly. That's
Cause
a bigger
that
thing.
that's that don't think there's a lot of
That's a
people don't
bigger
realize
thing.
either. And like if it's something actually happened, then yes.
Mhm.
But if there's
Right.
nothing happening, like you literally, I have seen people literally their life has been completely destroyed.
Right.
I can't say that it was in a no, it's been destroyed. They
Yes.
cannot use their social security number. They cannot use their name.
Mhm.
They can't work nowhere.
No.
And sometimes I'll be feeling sad. I'll be feeling bad for some people, like even certain men that even have to have child support,
Right.
and then they get stuck with something like that, and it's how can they be able to survive?
Oh my goodness. Like, that's a whole other story in
Right,
itself. Like, that's
right,
a whole other topic right there. Like, there's
right.
so many
So
there's so many policies and laws that are in place right now that are, it's just like, it's ridiculous. How do you think that's going to help the person? How do you think it's going to resolve the issue? Because it's not, it's basic, what's going to happen is it's just going to make it worse. And I don't think that, that's just like I was going back to the men in prison. um if you don't give them a skill and you just throw them on the streets, like I said, they're just going to go back to what they know.
what they know. Hmm
you know so, and you can't say, oh, but if a correctional facility is supposed to be a rehabilitation center, right? If that's what their job is supposed to be, then why are we not rehabilitating them?
Yeah,
You
that
know.
we need that. There needs to
So
be some real,
again,
there needs to be some real action in some of those
again,
places
another story. We talking about
instead of.
education today, so we gonna stick there.
Mm,
But yeah.
okay. Well, we are a little bit out of time, but
Okay.
I do thank you
You're welcome. Thank you
for
for having me
coming.
again.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
I
I'm happy.
appreciate you coming here. Needed some people.
Okay.
so I can put up my episodes. Time I'm playing. But no. So you guys, I hope just in my last in my well not last words, but in my words of positivity, you need to research. You if there's something that you want to do, if there's something that you're desiring to do, don't be afraid to do it. Um, and if you are going to do it, research it. You
Absolutely.
literally we are in a day and age where everything is literally in the palm of your hand. In the palm of your hand. And if you're looking at this video right now, that's what you're looking at it on. Like that's literally it's crazy how when I was younger I wish I had this where it was just easy to find information. It was easy to just pick it up and go and look and figure it out. Um, but times are different. So leave it the words of positivity. Research. Um, any words of positivity before we go?
Yes, I'm going to say that education is the key to unlock the doors for tomorrow. And one other thing I want to say is to speak what you seek. And I want to say that because of something that was mentioned, when we were talking, and it was, oh, well, not everybody can do that. And it's all about what you tell yourself. Speak what you seek.
Okay. Well, everybody, that's it. Thanks for watching. Love ya. Keep living, keep laughing, keep loving, and just enjoy life as possible. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, yeah, that was good.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're right. You're right. Mm, thank you.
You're
Did you
welcome.
like it?
I did.
Good.
I did.
No, I have editing to do. A
Hmm?
lots of it.
Oh, yeah. It's okay.